Ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast on this beautiful November 8th, 2019. Today's episode will consist of, Remembrance. Remembrance Day is coming pretty close, and appreciation, and more of the political frickin' dogma that's surrounding our beloved Poppy. All that and more coming up in the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast. Stay tuned.
Sweetheart, because I am hard, you will not like me. There is no racial bigotry here. Here you are all equally worthy.
That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the CRUSTY CANUCK podcast. I am your host, CRUSTY CANUCK, and today we are discussing, well, at least I'm discussing, Remembrance Day, Remembrance, Appreciation, and the big political fiasco surrounding our Poppy. Yes, that's right, ladies and gentlemen. There was a couple of high school students in Manitoba, I believe at a place called Stonewall Academy, who were suspended because they refused to wear the multicolored Poppy. Now, there have been mainstream media news outlets who have called that fake news. However, people at the Rebel and people at the Post Millennial beg to differ. They were actually on the ground and investigating, and they actually talked to the one of the students, and a few other students for that matter, in regards to the multicolored Poppy. Now, I have said before in numerous episodes, ladies and gentlemen, I don't care who's gay, who's straight, who's bi, who's tri, who, whatever, knock yourself out. Do it to the best of your ability, do it well, love who you want. I don't care. But we're living in a day and age now where every ounce of someone's sexuality minus heterosexuality is turning into a fucking disgusting political fucking joke. There, I've said it. It's a fucking joke, really. Excuse me. There are people I talk to offline and online in regards to the whole walk away Canada thing, the whole red pill mentality, people just waking up, using common sense, and just being a little more appreciative of who they are and what they do, regardless of whom they sleep with or what they sleep with or even whom they identify as. Now, as a veteran, I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, I'm a veteran, I deserve this, I deserve that. No, I did my fucking job. I did it the best of my ability. And there are people that I got to know that we're friends with who are not here with us today because they did their job to the best of their fucking ability. A couple of those lads lost their life to PTSD. A few of them lost their lives in battle. And a few of them lost their lives to other things too. So Remembrance Day to me is more than just putting on a nice shirt and tie, putting on my medals, standing at attention, giving the salute to the last post. It's a matter of remembering and appreciating and realizing what we really take for granted in this country and how we do it. And we're all guilty of it. We're all guilty of taking for granted our day-to-day life. And when you look at those men and women from World War I, World War II, Korea, every peace support and peacekeeping operation, and even those men that volunteered in the 1960s to leave Canada and join the American services for Vietnam, they were doing what they thought was right. Regardless of what your personal opinion is on war, regardless of what your personal opinion is on world conflict or conflict nonetheless, the dynamic of that time was, holy shit, there's an enemy, we better do something, we better stop it, and this is what we're going to do. Now, when I read this story, and I'll post links from the Rebel Media and from the Post Millennial on this subject, it basically means that this young girl did not want to wear a multicolored Poppy. So she took it upon herself to write a little spiel on a piece of paper and spread it around the school. And there was nothing really racist or bigoted about said issue. I'll just look it up here right now as we speak. But there was nothing that, made this girl. She didn't say anything bigoted, didn't say anything hateful. She didn't say anything wrong and didn't say that being gay or being lesbian was a bad thing. She just didn't want to comply to the status quo. She thought it was insulting because her grandparents were service members, and she thought it was insulting to them. And rightfully so. You know, the poppy is red for reasons. It's red because it represents the blood that was spilt in the battlefields in Europe. The black remembers the widows and the loved ones that were left behind. And the green represents the land that it affected. And it doesn't matter what your gender is or what you identify as or who you sleep with. The poppy has been inclusive since its fucking inception. And you can sit there and scream inclusivity and diversity all you fucking want, but you're basically taking the old adage of if it ain't broke, well, let's fix it anyway. Well, no. The adage is basically, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Okay? People forget that what if Hitler won the war? What would have happened? What would have happened to North America as we know it? What would have happened? Take a wild guess. What if the Cold War actually triggered World War III, and there were no nukes or anything, but there was a conventional fight in Europe? How do you think Europe would have looked if the Soviets won everything in Europe? So it puts that in perspective. Now, typical Canadian arrogance would be, oh, that would never happen here. Oh, no, of course not. We're peacekeepers. We love everybody. We're too nice to have anything like that happen to Canada. Yeah. Toronto 18. Right? The Danforth shooter having a few rifles and some carfentanil in his personal space. Right? When they searched his apartment, all the access to these guns and carfentanil. Not fentanyl, ladies and gentlemen, carfentanil. The actual toxic version of fentanyl. But no, that wouldn't happen to Canada. No, of course not. No, not at all. No, nothing like that would happen to Canada, right? Anyway, I'll be leaving some links from CanadaPoli and Rebel Media and the Post-Millennial in regards to this whole poppy fiasco. And I'll even make mention to some of the mainstream media outlets who more or less deemed it as fake news. And yet you actually see the interview with the young girl and her father weighing in on the ridiculous agenda that these teachers and the administration of said high school, Stonewall Collegiate Institute there in Manitoba, right, being deemed as a hate speech monger, condemning the whole poppy fiasco, and they're calling her an advocate for hate speech because she won't play along. Excuse me. Yeah, it freaks me out, folks. You can't just wear a poppy anymore. You got to stand by some political dogma and stand by some kind of rhetoric bullshit. You've got to stand by some real garbage this day and age to get ahead. And to me, that's not fair. That's not fair for the average Canadian. And like I say, folks, I don't care if you're gay, straight, bi, whatever you enjoy, whatever rocks your boat, fine, do it. Do it fun and do it well. Do it by the best of your ability. I've had the honor of serving with many people, a few who came out to me personally in regards to their sexuality. And I was honored that they told me. And they're still kicking today. They're good people. No one in their right mind is going to categorize one gay gesture and expect every gay to follow. I've met people that are straight that are real fucking idiots. Does that mean every straight person's a fucking clown? Come on. We're better than that, folks. But carrying on with this remembrance, I like to tell these administrators to, first thing comes to mind is fuck off. And the second thing comes to mind is go fuck your hat. And the third thing comes to mind is that if you don't have the fucking balls to serve your nation in that capacity, you really have no right to speak out on who wears what poppy. Now, don't get me wrong. First Nations have a special kind of poppy, right? Don't get me wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with backing up your heritage with said poppy, because a lot of English, a lot of Scottish, a lot of Irish, a lot of Canadians, a lot of Americans, a lot of Australians, a lot of New Zealanders, a lot of members of the British Commonwealth rightfully went to war to fight the German onslaught of that day. And some fought the Turks, some fought the Austrians, you know. Others just fought in skirmishes with allies of the Central Powers. And it was a fucking bloodbath. But needless to say, those individuals that signed up and did their part, and they didn't know what kind of hell they'd be going through. And I remember visiting Vimy Ridge back in 2000. I was part of the unit that brought home the unknown soldier. And I admit there were chills went up my spine, seeing that park and seeing the history and feeling the history there. You know, you're still seeing craters in the ground from from a war that was, you know, practically 85 years old at the time. You know? And just the history alone was breathtaking, informative. But it's moments like that I reflect on, that I remember. I wasn't there in the First World War or the Second World War, but my grandparents were around. God rest their souls. They were around in the Second. And I had a distant uncle that was in Korea. So I never met the man. It was on my father's side, but he apparently he kicked ass and took names. It was the kind of guy he was, from what I was told. Maybe it was just a story to entertain me as a wee lad, but I reflect on that, and I reflect on my adventures and my situations and the battles I've seen, the time I've raised my rifle in vain and fired a few rounds at the enemy. I'm not exaggerating, folks. I actually did fire some rounds at the enemy, and I've seen my share. And what annoys me the most is that when you get these institutions promoting this, you know, do this or else, wear this or else, walk this way or else, or talk this way or else. Do you really think you're doing something democratic by doing that? Are you really going to honor the veterans who fought against tyranny, who fought against communism, who fought against real fascism? Do you think you're going to honor their memories by doing that kind of shit? If anybody from Stonewall Academy is listening to this podcast, or any administrators or teachers from Stonewall Academy is listening to this podcast, I want to openly challenge you to a fucking debate on Canadian history and what Armistice Day really means. I want to challenge you with facts and figures. I don't fucking care about your feelings. I don't bloody well care how you feel. If you want to wear a multicolored poppy, you go right ahead and do it. But that is not going to replace the red poppy that this country has accustomed to since November 11th, 1918. Okay? You're not going to change the narrative. You're not going to change history. And I'm not pointing fingers at anyone's sexual lifestyle. I'm pointing fingers at the individuals that take it upon themselves to try to fuck things up to suit a small narrative. Okay? Like I say, folks, I don't care if you're gay, straight, bi, whatever. I've had the honor of meeting lots of people in my terms of service and in my time of service. And yeah, a few of them are gay, but it didn't fucking matter. They did their job, and they did it well, and they're good people. And they wore their red poppies proudly, like every other troop. Right? And they stood there and they saluted just like everybody else. And they stood there and they cried too, because they remembered. They reflected, just like the rest of us did. But these admins and these politically correct aficionados, you know, trying to prosecute a teenage girl for hate speech because you find your actions insulting. She wasn't being hateful. She was being truthful. She didn't go out of her way in her letter to say anything hateful to the lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, ABCD community. She was stating a point. She was more or less telling you, why try to fix something that ain't broken? Come on, folks. Anyway, tell me what you think. You can reach me at crustybcanuck67@gmail.com. You can find me on Facebook under Crusty Canuck. You can also find me at IDW, Internet Dark Web, with the handle Crusty Canuck as well. Even here on Podbean, leave me a comment, or on YouTube. Right? I'm just... You heard me laugh and giggle about the clowns we put in office. But right now, I'm just pissed at the fact that you can't even go to a high school now without political correctness, flogging people's ideas and shutting people down, right? Come on, folks. We're better than that. I'd say stand behind that teenage girl for saying what's right. You know, like I'll leave the links to the footage there that Rebel Media put together, and you can judge for yourself. It just doesn't seem... It's like we're going backwards in time here. It's like fucking 1984. As a veteran, I remember the things I've seen and the things I've done. I remember what my captain did and what he said. I remember what my warrant officer said and did during this situation, that situation. I remember basic training. I remember some of my instructors and their infinite wisdom telling me how to do things right, correcting me when I was wrong. I remember my grandparents talking about Europe back at this time, in this day, in this and that age. And I remember lots of veterans I knew when I was a cadet who told us a few stories about flying and about what they saw in Germany. And history class teaching us things, right? And yes, I am positive there were homosexuals that served in both world wars, even though at the time it was illegal. But that's irrelevant. That's irrelevant. More or less, folks, leave the poppy alone. You know, if you want to wear the multicolored poppy, I'm saying, okay, go right ahead. I'm not going to tell you what to wear. But do not turn this day into a fucking sideshow. Respect it. Okay? Regardless of how you feel, regardless of what your religious background is, or how you feel about politics or war, or the red poppy itself, leave it alone. Leave it alone. Okay? One day, veterans ask for. And technically speaking, it's not really one day. It's about 2 minutes of your life at 11 a.m. to sit and be silent and reflect on the powers and the privileges and the rights that everybody has in this country. It was because of the First World War. It was because of the Second World War. It was because of Korea. It was because of the peacekeepers. It was inadvertently because of people that went and fought in Vietnam and with the 60s upheaval of the social injustices, as well as people waking up in the 70s to get things done. And in the 80s, in the 90s, in the early 2000s, and here. Who cares if you sleep with this person? It doesn't fucking matter. Wear your poppy with pride if you want to. You don't have to wear it. But don't dress shit up because it's politically correct. It's that bullshit that's getting us to trouble to begin with. Huh? And this isn't hate speech, ladies and gentlemen. This is common sense. Hello? Hello? Common sense. Right? I've met lots of people who have said some nasty things on my profile page saying, oh, you're a warmonger. Oh, you killed brown people. Oh, you never fought for my freedom. Well, I guess I didn't personally fight for your personal freedom, but there were a lot of people before me and you who did. You dumb fuck. Right? To my listeners out there, let conventional wisdom rule the day. Spend 2 minutes on Monday remembering. 11 o'clock, wherever you are. Were you at a town cenotaph, or were you at Legion, or were you even at work? If you have to work, spend 2 minutes and think about it. Right? It just infuriates me, this whole political correct BS again. And regardless if it's just one school, how do we know it hasn't happened at other schools? Right? How do we know it hasn't happened at some other institution where some principal or some senior teacher says, okay, well, we're not going to play this because it's too offensive or it's too long. Okay, we're not going to play this part of the ceremony because it might promote this or might promote that. We're not going to say this because we're not going to ask these questions because, okay. To all these hush-hush monkeys that want to keep everything quiet and keep everything safe, I got one thing to say to you. Fuck off. Okay? Really. To all the people that back up poppies, that back up our troops, that back up our veterans, that back up people that have sacrificed the ultimate sacrifice for this country, thank you. Keep showing your support. To my fans and listeners out there, thank you once again, too. I've been seeing lately my subscribers have gone up drastically on YouTube. Wow, thank you very much. It makes me very happy. Please keep subscribing. Keep the comments going. All right. I've already written a check to Veterans Association Food Bank because of some healthy contributions I have received from total strangers. Thank you to all those people who have helped me manage to raise $200, which is a start. $200 will go to the Veterans Association Food Bank within the next week. I'll be contacting them again just to verify, and all will be good. But my offer still goes on. If you like what you see in here, please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe, either here on the Podbean or on YouTube. And if you feel like contributing $5 or $10 every month, please do. Offer still stands. If you do contribute $5 to $10 committed a month, I will mail you a T-shirt of your choice from my Teespring line. All right, so let me know which kind of shirt you like once you make that committed donations, and we'll go from there. And if you don't want to get a T-shirt, you can donate all the same, or you can just buy a shirt if you like. 30% of every donation and every sale will go to the Veterans Association Food Bank. That offer still stands. So that's that's one of my charities. That's what I believe in doing, helping other vets out in time of need. And Veterans Association Food Bank does wonderful things, folks. They help vets in need by making sure they get proper food. They assist vets in finding work, meaningful work. They also help less fortunate veterans out there with making ramps and sedgeways for their wheelchairs and such, and they help disabled vets out too. So, Veterans Association Food Bank, I will leave a link at the bottom of this page so you can donate yourself. If you give $25 to them directly, they will give you a tax receipt upon tax time. Therefore, if you do feel like filing your taxes, you can back it up with that good receipt because you've given to a great cause. Anyhow, back to remembrance and appreciation. I'm very, very fortunate to live in a country like Canada, regardless of the history. There's so many, many good things that this country has done too. And this country has offered the world not just a safe haven for those who are really, really persecuted and who are really, really oppressed, but it's given insight, it's given freedom to a lot. And freedom of choice, freedom to choose, freedom of expression, right? Freedom of speech, ladies and gentlemen. And I can just hear the SJWs cringing right now. Oh, but hate speech isn't free. Then what's deemed as hate speech? What is deemed as hate speech because you don't agree with a certain dogma, right? Is it hate speech for a young couple to take their kids out of sex ed training when their kids are only 8 years old? Is that hate speech? Is it hate speech to stand up and actually tell a homosexual, stop politicizing your lifestyle? You don't deserve special treatment because you're gay? Is that hate speech? I don't deserve special treatment because I'm straight. I don't deserve special treatment because I'm married. I don't deserve special treatment because I'm a veteran either. That I acknowledge. Right? And that's not acknowledging my privilege. That's being fucking realistic. Think about that. I know, it's a touchy subject when you want to fuck with a poppy for the sake of political agenda. It's not for the sake of being an inclusive. Don't give me this inclusion dilemma. Right? I don't buy it. I don't. So just leave it alone. Like the story goes, folks, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Leave it alone. Right? I got an interesting email the other day from a Christian. He self-expressed his respect for God and his love for God and Jesus and all that. And he was giving me this whole spiel, and basically in the email it said, you know, Krusty, I've listened to your show a couple times, and I think you need more God in your life. Now, don't get me wrong. He's probably heard some of my angry stories and some of my criticisms, and he's probably generally concerned for my mental welfare. Well, to the Christian man out there listening, I'm not going to mention your name, you know, because I know how many Christians are getting criticized to this day and age. But I appreciate your concern, sir. Thank you very much. You know, your blessings and your good tidings are fantastic. It's well appreciated. But, sir, I'm not religious. And I have many, many reasons why I'm not religious. And I appreciate what you've done, but sorry, it's not my forte. But thank you all the same. Thank you for the kind words of wisdom and the guidance you've tried to provide. It's appreciated, but I have my own light, sir. But my point being, that man reached out to talk to me. Right? Two people, two different lifestyles. Right? You see what I'm saying? You see the dynamic here? I never asked him if he was married. I never asked him if he was gay. I didn't really care. But he gave me this wonderful little lecture, gave me some scripture to read. Great. I don't agree with it. But I didn't condemn him for it. And I didn't promote anything hateful to him. And I didn't say anything stupid to him. You see what I'm saying? All right. Now I'll leave a link to what this young lady said when she promoted over this high school there, but I'll also leave a link to the story. And I'll let you decide for yourself. Right? I'll let you decide, ladies and gentlemen, because I look at Remembrance Day as a holy day. Even though, like I said, I'm not religious, but it is a day of remembrance and to respect and to keep politics out of it. Yeah, I don't care if you voted Liberal, I don't care if you voted Conservative, NDP, fucking Green, PPC, Libertarian, Rhinoceros, 1-2 buckle my shoe party. Monday is a day of remembrance and respect. Sit around with your friends, have a few drinks, appreciate. Because war is hell, folks. Regardless of how you sum it up. And my experiences do not compare to the experiences of the fallen of before me, where they were saturated in Europe under heavy fire for years at a time, when we had 6 months. Right? But nonetheless, you hear the crack and boom of enemy fire. You hear the thwap and the whaps. And you see the tracer rounds going overhead. You know you're in shit. And I don't want to see that kind of shit here. So that's why I'm so passionate about the poppy, and that's why I want my fellow Canadians of all shapes and sizes, not one certain degree of them, all Canadians, and I include all Canadians, gay, straight, bi, tri, MGTOW, Lady Tow, whatever fucking abbreviation you come up with, all Canadians. The poppy is inclusive. It includes everybody that fought and died and served. Our national anthem is inclusive. We stand on guard for thee. How more inclusive do you need to be? Right? Honestly, how more inclusive do you need to be? I don't know how many times I got to say it, but I'm really starting to get fed up with these politically correct types who want to change everything, and then the first one's to point the finger over hate speech. You know, don't sit there and promote inclusivity when you're willing to segregate people because of an idea. Kind of an oxymoron, kind of a contradiction, and it's fucking hypocritical. So my hat's off to that young lady in Manitoba. Well done, ma'am. And her father for raising a brilliant young girl, and her friends that have backed her up. And to the students there at Stonewall Academy. If any of you are listening to this right now, cheers, stand your ground, be real, right? No such thing as hate speech, folks, unless you actually stand and you look at somebody and say, I hate you. Then you can, call it what you want. I hate taxes. I hate stubbing my toes in my Chesterfield. I hate cold coffee. I hate cold pizza. Yeah, I hate standing in an elevator and someone farts. Oh, is that hate speech if I express that? No. Time to smarten up, folks. Start standing up for what's right and what's real. Anyhow, I'll be leaving this podcast with a few reminders. And hope you all take care of yourselves. Look out for each other. And something to think about this weekend, and especially come Monday. Give yourself 2 minutes to think about those fallen guys. Because in 2014, I could have been the fallen. I was pretty close to blowing my brains out, folks. And if I wasn't going to do that, I was going to hang myself. And if I wasn't going to do that, there was a bunch of pills I was eyeing up to swallow. So, yeah, I have my demons too. And I don't mind talking about it now. I don't mind sharing that with you. So, when people start complaining about how multicolored the poppy is or isn't, put that in perspective. Wear the red one proudly. Because as far as I'm concerned, it is inclusive. It's included every man, woman, and young man and woman that has served this country proudly. All right? And I'm not going to be ashamed of saying I'm a veteran. I'm not going to be ashamed of saying I'm a Canadian. And I'm not going to be fucking ashamed for waving my flag either. So, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'll leave this podcast with a last post and a poem from one of my favorite composers or performers. So, I've been CRUSTY CANUCK. And take care of yourselves. And remember, humanity merit wins the day. Bye for now.
In Flanders fields, the poppies blow between the crosses, row on row that mark our place. And in the sky, the larks, still bravely singing, fly, scarce heard amid the guns below. We are the dead, Short days ago we lived, felt dawn, saw sunset glow, loved and were loved. And now we lie in Flanders fields. Take up our quarrel with the foe. To you from failing hands, we throw the torch. Be yours to hold it high. If ye break faith with us who die, we shall not sleep, though poppies grow in Flanders fields.